Yeah. So go ahead, tell us about how the guild formed and who the other leaders are with you.
So we have four guild leaders. The myself, John Paul K, Pumbaa, and Valen. Those will be our main guild leaders. It always switches. We kind of take turns, uh, kind of pulling the weight, which is nice. Uh, and we've been a guild, like I said, for a little over a year. We formed because, well, the old guild we were part of, or I should say, let me start at the beginning. We're actually a combination of like three or four guilds. Most of us, I don't want to say most of us, but a large portion of us were originally in Dreadlords, and I was at the time running the guild in beta. Uh, After a fallout because of another game releasing, and some of us wanting to play, some of us not wanting to play, we were all kicked out, and everybody messaged me. So I made a guild that wasn't really expecting to be big. I just figured I'd throw everybody into a guild and kind of see how things went. And instead of kind of having to abide by the old Dreadlord rules, I got to make my own. And we rolled with it. And, pretty much everyone that was kicked out of Dread came to me. And then, the other guilds that kind of grouped into us, there was a guild called Juris that was playing with Dreadlords. They came as well. And then a couple other small guilds, just from other games, kind of brought their, 5 to 10 man groups over and started playing with his beta. And eventually they just, or most of them anyway, kind of stuck with the game.
Gotcha.
And, on release, we probably had like 40 to 50 people. I mean, the release was a clusterfuck, so not everybody could be in the game, but we had a
Yeah.
good turnout.
That was I think I lost, like we were like a really big guild at launch. Like we had 100 people in voice comms at one time at one point, around the launch day or whatever. But that launch, I probably lost 20 people, maybe that day. I mean, there were probably people who weren't going to stick with the game anyways or whatever, but that launch was just terrible. Like I took time off work and then I don't even think I got to play for like 7 days. Like my whole vacation passed before I could even play um at launch. So that was
Yeah,
bad.
it was a struggle for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of really good guilds just didn't get good starts, and they were kind of down and just never kind of got the wheels going. And a lot of guilds just kind of fell apart or got absorbed into a bigger guild. Or yeah, it was definitely a difficult launch to get through. We did pretty well. I mean, we were seriously tryharding, like 36-hour queues. We waited in 36-hour queues like two or three times.
And then you
We
would
had people
crash
that,
and have to sit back in the queue.
yeah. So a couple of us were in game for so long that we had like a memory leak, and our graphics would just like eventually after like it had to have been like 30 hours of leaving your character in game, the graphics would just get so deteriorated and your
Mhm.
FPS would drop, and all the trees would just look like they would look like flat, like flat 2D trees.
Yeah.
And the game became unplayable, so you would have to restart your client. And that was before they put in the like all the systems to get through the queue and shit like that.
Yeah, it's a problem when your game starts looking like RuneScape. And you're like, okay, wait, something's not right here. Um, so what I want to touch on first. All right, so let's start with like basics. Like if someone came to you and they're like, "Oh, Karnimata. What's Karnimata about?" How would you like best describe your guild?
We're so our most of the people that are in my guild either were from Mortal One who or played with people that were from Mortal One, so they know a decent bit about it. And I would say we're a, a guild. You guys call it RPK. It's kind of like an old term,
Hmm.
but I brought everybody in my guild to one region and just decided we're going to fight for that Northeast no matter what.
Mm.
Some of us have sentimental value from Mortal One up in the Northeast, but really we're just a guild looking to get good fights until Sieging comes out. You know,
Mhm.
so call it an RPK guild if you want. Just fighting for the land that we claimed.
And it's definitely like a PvP oriented guild, correct?
Oh yeah, PvP oriented, but we have, I mean, not just PvP oriented. Like we have a lot of Bobs. When I made the guild, uh, me and some of the other guild leaders talked about it quite a bit. I don't want to say no to people that I like. I'm not going to say no to them because they're bad PvPers. And any of the better guilds that have fought us know we have a lot of Bobs. We have a lot of people that aren't very good. Um, and a lot of those a lot of those Bobs that I did bring in are specifically for the sieging content or the PvE because I like the PvE. I like the farm. It's like relaxing. Um, in this game, it's a little repetitive because they're kind of implementing the content bit by bit. So you'll do the new content for as long as you can, and then you kind of just get sick of it. But
Yeah, it's like when you find that like a really good song and you just listen to it like 20 times and then now you're sick of the fucking song and you don't want to listen to it anymore.
yeah,
Kind of
pretty
how
much.
it goes. And then
Yeah,
you'll come back to it at some point, but you know.
yeah. I was like I'm assuming that the sieging and the TC is going to generally be similar to what Mortal One had,
Mhm.
and they tie the PVE to the sieging you by giving like this currency for killing larger mobs like boss mobs and things like that. You got prominence, and prominence is what you was kind of required in order for you to buy boulders or manganons from your keep to siege other people. So I would assume it's generally going to be something like that. So you're going to need the PvEers at some point.
Yeah, cuz I mean a lot of the systems we have now are more or less copy pasted or like a pretty close iteration from MO1 that I've seen. Um And he did reference a currency coming for TC. He didn't say what, but he did say that people will like everyone's starting on like the same footing as far as that currency is concerned because it's not in the game now. So we'll see what they do, but it does look like it's. I mean, I don't really know how they could do it much differently. I mean, hopefully we don't have like siege windows, but you know, who knows?
Yeah,
They might go
uh,
that way, but
yeah, it's going to be a bummer if they do that. They had a good system in Mortal One. It was just buggy. If it wasn't buggy, it was a pretty good system.
I this like the sandbox element of being able to siege someone like in their like graveyard time is fine as long as it still took a significant amount of time. And then now in MO2 we don't have like wall spam, so it'd be even easier to get to the castle and siege it faster than in MO1. And in MO1 I think it only took like an hour or two with like a really organized group to like siege someone's castle. Now they I mean they went to bed with a castle, 2 hours later they don't have a castle. Hopefully it would take longer than that. Like you would hate to see that, be like denied of that content because it was just so like quick to do. Um, but they made multiple references, and the siege camps are physically in the game, so there's going to be some element to those siege camps that either denies like a complete surprise siege, or if they're up, it just makes it take longer. Who knows? But
Yeah, like I said, it was a good system in Mortal One. If you had tier 3 towers, each tier 3 tower, which they had territory control towers, which expanded your territory, allowed you to place TC buildings.
Mhm.
The more TC towers you had, tier 3, the less damage your keep would take
Oh, really? I
when
never
you
heard that
siege.
before.
Yeah, it was a good system. It was just the biggest. Henrik has mentioned it a lot. The biggest headache for them and for the players was the TC towers were so buggy, and you could
Yeah,
place them anywhere. So you
yeah.
would have people bugging that, like getting to really hard to get to places, and like on top of mountains or on the side of cliffs or in caves, and placing these tier 3 towers that you could put walls around and guards on them, and it was just like super cancer to deal with. So a lot of people just didn't want to bother with it.
And I
And
mean, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, and like when there's the function that those towers had was it made sense. It was really cool. It made it really hard to siege, and if you destroyed them, which I believe that their goal was like to get the PvP are like based around the territory control towers, right? Expanding your
Yeah.
territory and reducing your enemies. In theory, that worked out really nicely, but what it turned out to be was just people ninja sieging towers in the middle of the night. And so the siege camp, the information that we got from the siege camps is pretty nice. I like that. That you have to either control them or do something with them in order to make it easier to siege. But I really
Did
hope they don't have just like a pure like siege window. That's it
I
never
don't think
worked in any game. It's
they
always
can't
trash.
really because it's what I mean. Like we play with people from Asia, from Russia. It's like how would you determine? Okay, this is the time where everyone can siege. It's gonna end up being like 12 p.m. Eastern. You know what I mean? Like people are at work. Like how can you say that's a justifiable time for like the entire world? Basically, you know what I mean? Like it's I don't think they can go that route. It doesn't make any sense. Um, but who knows with Starville at the end of the day. But I was gonna say oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Shit. Um, I fucking just spaced it. It was right there, and I just fucking lost it. Um,
Well, I
God
imagine
damn it.
whatever they do, I'm looking forward to the more information. We should find out a little bit more about it in the next coming month or so. So hopefully we get just a good idea of how it's going to work.
Oh, I remember what it was. So I was like a Moki like blueberry in MO1, and we got sucked up into the the Imperial Dream feudal system or whatever you want to call it, where they were just like like using all these
Yeah.
like smaller guilds in their wars and stuff. And
Hmm.
I remember specifically they had their tower right above Moki on like this like cliff hill thing with a very narrow pass that you had to like jump up to even like get to the tower. And it was so funny because like RPK would go up there every day trying to like siege this tower, and it was like this little narrow fucking pass that like only one person could walk up even at a time type shit. And it was just so funny getting the fights up there on this like hill cliff thing. And that's where their
Yeah.
tower was, you know what I mean? So it was just like if
Yeah. The
RPK
cool
wanted
part
to take
about
down
that
that tower,
system,
they had to go up this path, and it generated good PvP, but
the cool thing about that system was you really got to use the map to your advantage. So you could choose those positions where they were extremely well defended and make it harder for your enemies. It just kind of resulted in ninja sieges and stuff like that.
yeah, it was just like
It's more of a social issue with the MMO communities.
well, it was just like when the towers got put, like there was like towers that were like under the map, if I remember right, that were completely like unsiegeable. It gets when it's like at that level, then it's like okay, this is a problem. But it would really just be up to Starvolt moderation to like handle these things, like any other game. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't see the issue with them allowing the same system again. They would just have to moderate to where like and like set like kind of like parameters where like okay, like if you can't like if it requires like a man cannon to siege it, and you can't put a man cannon within range to siege it, then it shouldn't be allowed. But if you can at least find like one spot where you could put a man cannon and then siege it from that spot, if it's possible, then it should be allowed. That would be my stance on it. Um, and then that would just become down to like being smart and being strategic with where you put your towers. You know what I mean? But if you can find those good ass spots, then why wouldn't you be able to use them?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they do it because I like it. I don't. I guess I just don't see how they could make that system work without the towers. But they say they got something, so we'll see. Pretty
Um,
excited for it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't have any info on it. We'll see how they do it, but so besides like your four leaders, do you have officers or like what does like the rank structure look like in your guild?
I don't like to have officers. I like to think of you know I like to think of people. There's natural leaders, and if you want to do something, just make a group and go do it, and eventually people will see you as a leader. I don't. I have like there's a couple of different tiers in our Discord, but really, if you're in the Discord, you're part of the guild, and if you're a guild leader, it's a little bit different because like the responsibility usually falls on the guild leaders, and the people that help the guild leaders are, typically the organizers and the leaders that other people just naturally look to. So, I mean, you could say there's some people that are officers. I would say they're more organizers and things like that. So yeah, I try and look at everybody in the guild the same. You know,
Yeah,
if
like
somebody's a good
equals.
caller or likes to set up dungeon runs or things like that, then people look at them to lead those groups, and you know that'll obviously just make things a lot nicer for the guild. But I don't like giving people like fake power where you know you're a leader, so you can tell other people what to do. That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I think sometimes anyways that these like roles actually cause more problems than they fix because
Yeah,
you put someone in power who maybe shouldn't be, or he was good at first but now he's not, and now he's kind of like abusing it, or you know what I mean, or he's just not doing anything and he's just lazy and people
yeah,
don't
and a lot
respect
of the
their role
times
now.
you make people officers because they're active and they're doing the right things in terms of making the guild better, whether it be organizing groups or calling in fights or helping new players. And then they take a break. They're gone for 3 or 4 months and come back. And now, like, do you still call them an officer? They haven't been around. They're not really in tune with the game or the guild. You think guild has any sort of rollover and membership? You know. So I try to avoid that. The people like typically it's like just good PvPers, good players, or really hard farmers that kind of organize groups, just kind of bubble up to the top and kind of take charge. And you know, if anything, I try and help them. I try and help and like facilitate other people kind of leading small groups. I like when I come into Discord and there's like 5 different channels with like 7 or 8 different people in each channel, because I know everybody's just kind of doing their own little thing, and it's
Yeah,
means things are working well.
yeah, if everyone's like broken off into like be more efficient in their own little groups, whatever they're doing type thing. Yeah, it's definitely sometimes better than like having like 30 people on the same channel and like you can't have really people speaking, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that shit drives me crazy.
um how many would you say you have active in the MO scene right now, roughly?
Um, I mean, if we got like if sieging was out right now and we got siege, we'd probably get 20 to 30.
What
But
what what
like
about
right now is
yeah.
like the is probably the least active we've ever been.
Mhm.
Um, right now we're playing. A couple different games came out. Uh, where we did. We were there for the Wrath of the Lich King launch. We just did a 7 Days to Die server where I bought one, and we're doing that right now, just messing around, kind of taking a break from the game. So there's other games. We play Foxhole, a couple other games out there that we play as a group, just to kind of keep people active and playing together. Because the last thing you want is people to just go play a game, by themselves and just never hear from them again. So,
Yeah.
just doing whatever we can to keep the community active, if you will.
Well, I mean, I think it's nothing to do with your guild per se, but if you like look at it, like we are kind of like in a bit of a content drought since like Necro. Like we really haven't gotten much. I mean, Domination, came out or whatever, but like to be fair, you can't even like dominate the cool shit. You know what I mean? Like it's not feasible like the queens or like the trolls or
Yeah,
whatever. So
yeah. I mean, they're just getting the groundwork in for it, and really none of that stuff matters until the big, domination. The way I look at it anyway, domination is supposed to be pets that are like really strong, that are siege pets. You don't always bring them out, and until there's sieges or a reason to use those pets, I really don't care. They can just keep, adding parts of it and pieces of it into the game. And when it's fully implemented and those big pets are in, then that'll be exciting. But the people who know they're going to be dominators have had domination for months, and they're kind of just waiting for it to be fully implemented. So yeah, that wasn't really
Yeah.
much content for us. And the new, I like to keep everybody in the Northeast as much as I can. Um, and the new dungeon that came out in Fab really wasn't anything I was too interested in. So yeah, it's pretty much a content drought. I'm I'm leveling ritualism on my second account. You know, 0 to 100.
Is there a second one? You're doing two
Yeah.
different ritualisms? Oh my
Yeah.
god, dude. Hold on, one
Very
second.
strong.
I can't give you guys nice things. Fucking god gamer. Sorry, he's playing the sub alert, the John Cena one, and it's fucking loud. Um, you said you're leveling your second ritualist pet or skill on a different character now?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Yep.
fucking nuts, dude. That's like, isn't that like 2-3K gold, pretty
It's
much?
um. I was trying to do the math. If you're farming your own card, I mean, you can't really calculate the cost of the carcass in there, but
Emotional
it's about
damage.
20. It's about 2,600 gold, 2,500 gold, just in candles and what are they? The ritual stones. About 2,400 gold.
Mhm.
It's really not that bad. It's just kind of mind numbing having to do 1,200 or 1,300 rituals.
I muted the sound alerts, guys. Don't do them, please. I can't have him going while he's talking. Um, I've never asked this question before, but I want to ask. If you don't want to answer or can't answer, that's fine. Um, if you like did like a pool of like gold or resources from like Karnimata, how much do you think like you could get in like raw gold from like a
Um,
collective of like your like people in your guild who
Probably
you
a
think would
lot.
even donate?
Probably a lot, but probably not as much as most people would think. We're material rich. We're not really like we have people that are gold rich, and we have people that I mean I knew people that had 10 stacks of gold, but they're buyers and sellers, right? They had it and then they bought a bunch of material with it,
An
and
MO2, 10 stacks of
so
gold.
yeah,
What the fuck?
yeah. I mean, you
Is that one
when
kid
you
in your guild who's always farming Rise or Dungeon with those trinkets?
I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Terry.
Yeah, Terry. Yeah, that's
He's
his
probably
name.
got a lot. Yeah, he's probably got a lot. The thing about it
Jesus
is, it's
Christ.
a volatile. You had four servers that people could log into and free farm, right? You have no idea how much gold is out there, and then you put jewelry or trinkets into the game, and now people have something to spend the gold on. And if you just get one good I mean, if you had one good silver topaz, I mean, a couple months ago, you could sell it for 5 or 6 stacks of gold, like easy,
Jesus Christ.
right? And if you have the right stuff on it, you can still sell it for that. And then if you had, I forget what the lucks are, but if you had loot luck and the gem luck on the same ring, a couple months ago, people would offer you a lot.
Hmm.
And those aren't even PvP rings. If you had a good PvP ring, like people were throwing so much gold at you. So like a lot of the gold I would imagine any guild that has a lot of gold is probably from jewelry. It's like the easiest way to get
Yeah, but the
just
people
to
have to.
set a
Where do
list.
people get their fucking gold from? Like they have to have the gold from somewhere to buy the trinket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, free. I mean, like I said, you were free farming. I mean, the gold you can get so much carcass. You could get so much carcass in one day. Like especially when people were doing the Niter Queen,
Mhm.
or the trolls, right? The trolls are so bad for the
Yeah,
game. Like trolls
trolls.
are,
Yeah, are big. Yeah.
they were every 45 minutes, right? They think they ninja extended. I don't know if there was in any patch notes, but they extended the cooldown on them. But like trolls, people were killing trolls every 45 minutes. You get like 100 plus gold in raw gold. Then you get gems. Then you get the head. So it's like 150 gold a kill, and it's every hour. And then you have people that will do like we had people that would do 3 or 4 spawns across the map. They just had 3 or 4 accounts sitting at the troll, and they would do them, just one after the other. So they would do 150 gold pretty much every 20 minutes, and they did it for 16 hours a day. Yeah,
Jesus
and
Christ.
you get so much gold in a week. You could get a stack of gold from Troll like pretty casually, and that's not even including most of those guys didn't even bother with the carcass. Like the carcass was too much
They're just like,
to
oh,
deal with.
fuck that.
Yeah, and so if you're doing the frost troll and you had, I mean, 8 months ago when the game first came out, if you had iron for you would sell that for a ton of gold.
Yeah.
It was very easy,
Troll,
and
yeah, trolls are nuts. I made like 1,000 or 2,000 gold after like a week or two, but I'm a casual, but for like that one troll south of MK or whatever, I would just be
yeah,
farming it with my turtle or whatever solo. So yeah, no, I as soon as you said trolls, it made me think. I'm like, oh yeah, there's definitely good fucking money making methods for sure.
yeah. And now people can just like now people will actually buy the troll carcass for necromancy and stuff like that too. So
Yeah.
trolls are insane. They're so bad for the game, the economy. There's so much gold getting pumped in, and there's so many spawns.
I mean, it's fine because once we have like sieging is like the core element that really touches like all other elements of the game because like it's going to be such a huge gold sink and it'll take so many materials and resources out of the economy that we're just not getting right now. Because like if you think about it, like let's say that Guild A owns Castle A, and there's like a whole bunch of shitters that live around their castle. When siege comes out, they're probably gonna end up clearing out a lot of these like villages or whatever. And these are people who probably aren't logging in every day, and then their house gets wiped off the map, and they had 10 stacks of steel in it. You know what I mean? Like this is like
Oh
now
yeah,
resources that are no longer in the game that people have to refarm for. So it's gonna have a huge, huge impact on the economy.
yeah.
Um,
The first 3 months of sieging is going to be just like probably over 50% of all the wealth in the game just being knocked out. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're talking about tier three houses getting knocked down that have been there that a lot of the time people are placing houses at spawns so they can hold whatever they're getting from the spawns. So yeah, you're getting rid of a ton of wealth, which is it'll be good for the game, and that's why like in Mortal One, the economy was actually really good for a really long time, just because it's constantly going through cycles of, there's a peace period where there's no war and everybody's farming, and there's a bunch of beef. People go to war. All the material is used up in the war or blown up in houses, and then you know the war's over. It goes back to peace. Everybody farms up again.
Yeah. Um, it's just sad. I mean, I feel like the game was at this point, like hindsight, of course, game was probably released like a year, maybe even 2 years too early. Um, because it definitely should have came with like sieging, or if like they were gonna drop castles, they should have dropped it. Once sieging had some form, like some way to siege a castle is what I'm saying. But um,
Yeah, I mean, and like, yeah, yeah. It's like right now you can't even beat down houses with picks anymore
yeah,
because
they
they
nerfed it
released it.
again.
It's so stupid, but whatever.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah, I don't know why.
it definitely came out early, but I think it's not the end of the world, especially for a game like this. Like, it's never gonna be a World of Warcraft where it's got millions of people playing it.
Hmm.
Not just because the servers can't handle that, just because most people like WoW Bobs. You lose one set of gear, it's the end of the world. You know,
Yeah.
and people can't get past losing gear and all that shit.
I thought you said whale bob at first, and I realized you meant wow bob,
WoW,
or
yeah, sorry,
or you maybe
yeah,
you said wow bob. I heard whale bob. I was like, what the fuck's a
yeah,
whale
yeah. I meant
bob?
WoW Bob.
But I know what you meant. So what is like your greatest achievement as a guild, or like what's the thing that like you're the most proud of personally?
Honestly, like the two things that I'm pretty happy with up to this point, like how active we were. Um, was it pretty crazy. We were active even through like the content droughts. Everybody still kind of comes around,
Hmm.
and most of the like we have 97 unique players in the guild in Discord, and I don't know. There's maybe two people in there that don't plan on playing Mortal. They're just kind of friends that pop in and say hi. Everybody else is people who pop in every now and then, waiting for sieging. And like I said, it was a combination of guilds that kind of started playing together, and that rarely works out well. It very rarely works out, and
Yeah.
for the most part, everybody gets along. You know, we got a couple trolls. We got a couple trolls. And most of these players, I would say 70% of the people in here were actually people from the first like 3 or 4 months, or like from beta, like that had been with us the whole time. We have very few people that quit or get kicked out. Um, yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy. But I mean, in terms of like objective, like what we've done, I mean, we went for the GK Castle, and TC Alliance got it, and then we just battered their entire alliance, just completely shit on them, just nonstop for months. They quit, like they they just completely crumbled, and the only way you could possibly lose a game that you can't be sieged out of, their guild just got shit on in every fight. They added like 15 people to their alliance. Every guild came up and just got thrashed to the point they stopped playing in the GK area. They left like 3 or 4 times to go fight people in Fabrinum, and then they crumbled, scammed their guild members and kicked them all out, and then broke up their alliance, and then joined another, like one of the best guilds in the game, to be, just so they could be a factor. Like we just completely annihilated Talus and or El Cartel, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Just a complete trash guild with trash leadership. I mean, that felt good. And then their
Jesus.
alliance crumbled completely. It was like the only major alliance to completely crumble. It was fucking awesome.
Well, I mean, yes, and companions are like the alliance isn't fully
Yeah.
dead at least,
Well, that
but I
alliance is
yeah
totally dead, thoroughly dead. Props to ES though. Like ES, fucking, they hung in there. They went around the map. Like they would take a break. Everybody leaves the GK area to go fight elsewhere just to get like change of scenery and shit. Props to ES. They hung in there. They fought us when none of their allies would come help them. We throttle them in most of the fights that are even numbers. They bring up different guilds and still try and make shit work. I mean, they ally everybody now to fight us, but props to them for hanging in there and fighting. Like they're literally the only guild that was part of that alliance that I would say was like worthy of being up in the Northeast. Like that's it. Like every other guild was complete garbage.
they got like the good mental. Like they might not be the best skilled, is what you're saying, but like they have pretty good
Yeah, I mean they
mental.
got decent players, but yeah, mentally they're tough dudes, tough hombres.
Tough hombres.
Yeah, even though they fucking hate us, which is that's part of the game, but that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think they like. It's just yeah, it's just like when you're killing someone and taking their shit over and over, or you know what I mean, vice versa. Like you're gonna feel some type of way about them. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah, and
Um,
it's more fun when you really dislike your enemy. Like that's content, right?
it
If you're
feels
like just
better.
on good terms with everybody, like it's not fun. It's not fun when you see your friends and you're just fighting them, and you know.
Yeah.
So just let's just have fun, just get out there, swing our swords. Fuck that.
Would you say
I
like
kind of
this
hate
game is?
enemies.
Would you say this game is like built on like rivalries or like
Oh yeah,
conflict?
that's how Mortal One. Like Mortal One is just like one war leading to another war, leading to another war, just based off of like animosity and pure just like ego. Like oh yeah, definitely. Like
Hmm.
that's what the whole game is right now. I mean, especially because there's no sieging. Like you can't do anything to like kill or get rid of your enemy. You just fight them, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we need sieging. I mean, I want to get back into that again, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, are you guys in an alliance or like how do you guys handle alliances?
Yeah, we're in an alliance. We have I think 5 or 6 guilds now. Um, we've been with Tofu since the beginning. We knew Tofu from Mortal One. We played with them in a couple other games when we were Dreadlords. Their leadership and like some of those guys are just absolute bangers. I love playing with them. Um, V Sword Abyss was a smaller guild on launch, and um, one of our good friends, Beck, was their guild leader, and yeah, so we, basically were just we allied up with him because he's our good friend, and they've been really great allies up to this point. They play with us in GK area now a lot more than They did a launch like when they were new players. They had a lot of new players at launch, but now they've moved up to the north and they've been awesome allies. Oz is kind of inactive, but they were with us since launch as well. And then just recently, you guys, Battle Brothers and Empire were added, and you know,
Yeah,
most of you guys were all we fought all those guilds. Well, I don't know when Battle Brothers was formed, but we fought all three of those guilds. You know, whenever we ran into them, you know, eventually formed like pretty good rapport with those guilds, and eventually brought you guys into the alliance for one reason or another. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more happy with the alliance. You know, we don't always, you know, we don't have the most the highest tiered skilled fighters, but a bunch of good dudes for sure. You know, everybody's on good terms and like playing with Empire, like playing with Battle Brothers. You know, Battle Brothers is the newest guild to come in, and they were, you know, they've been awesome running into those guys. Those guys are just bangers. They want to fight everybody who comes around.
yeah, I see him in your Discord voice comms a bit. Are they're fully like living up in the Northeast?
I don't know if they have. I mean, I think they were. I'm not sure what area they were. I know that we fought them a couple times down in the jungle and around Bhakti. And I know they fought with Empire or they helped with Empire around MK. So I don't know exactly where they played before or if they still play there now, but I know they're very active up in the GK area, which is cool.
Gotcha.
So I think
Um,
they're full time up there. I don't know for sure though.
yeah. Well, how do you guys handle recruitment? Like, if someone wants to join your guild, like, how do they go about it?
I, we didn't recruit for a long time after the game was released, and just recently we've been bringing some people in. A lot of it just because you know we have members that are going inactive, and sometimes there's just a lot of guys that we fight a lot, and you know their guilds for one reason or another either moved on to another game or stopped playing. So we've been picking them up. We don't openly recruit. Usually, people will just message me, and I'll tell them no. Um, sometimes, you know. Uh, Usually people are that get into the guild are like friends of friends or people we've played with in other games like, where we absolutely know the person. So yeah, it's kind of uh, always changing how we're doing our recruiting. But just recently, we haven't been recruiting. I should say recently for the last like month or so, we haven't really been bringing in too many people. Though we did just bring in like two groups of guys that are pretty awesome. Like another thing that I'm really happy with, like our guild, like for everybody in that we fight against that absolutely hates us, we seem to be getting really nice guys. Some of the guys dropping out of other guilds that are just great recruits, like active players, good dudes, you know, fun to play with.
Yeah. Are you, what you talking about? I think it was like Sloppy's group. Is that who you're talking about? Like
Yeah,
from
he was his group and Smokey.
Smoky Lemon?
Yeah,
Okay.
Smoky Melon. No,
That's not the Smoky who was like duping.
no, that's just Smokey.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just checking. I don't know.
Smokey from Talos Confederation. No, not him.
Gotcha. Um, do you guys own a castle or do you plan to own one in the future? Or like, where's your mindset with that?
We're just looking at the GK Castle. I like this area. We, you know, have a lot invested up here. I kind of just want to go for the GK Castle. I'm not really interested in anything else. Um, but you know, if who knows down the road, you know, depending on how sieging and how TC works, it may be pretty necessary to, if you can even trade castles, you know, when sieging comes out. Maybe we'll buy one, but we'll see. I want to see what sieging looks like and how important it is to have one, and if it's even worth having one. Because for a long time in Mortal One, it was not worth having a castle at all,
Fair enough.
which I'm really hoping they fix.
And to be clear, you don't have a castle currently, correct?
Yeah, I know we don't have a castle.
Okay. What is your favorite aspect of the game?
That's a hard one because I'm the type of player who likes to do everything. I like gathering. I like being able to chill out. And sometimes doing farming mobs and stuff like that is chill. But I like gathering resources. I like one of the coolest aspects of the game was the resource system, and how the refining and the extraction works, and how you can turn one resource into several different types of resources that are used for a whole bunch of different things. And so I like gathering. I always have like my second client up, just hitting trees or hitting granum or tefer or something like that.
Mm.
Obviously, we're a PvP guild. I love the bigger fights. Um, it was for a long time in beta. It was just me and Valine, and we would fight smaller fights, and that was cool for a bit. But the just the way the PvP is in Mortal Two, it's just the bigger fights are more fun. I think it's just a better, bigger fight game.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
That's probably what I enjoy the most for sure. Bigger fights.
were you like not surprised? Like, are you happy that they pretty much use like the same exact like systems from MO1, or did you wish they would like change it up and like do the refining different? Because I'm pretty sure you knew like exactly how to make steel from MO1, right? And
Yeah.
MO2. Did you wish
Um,
they did it differently, or are you happy they kept it the same?
I'm happy they kept it the same because I don't think they need to change it up. At the end of the day, when sieging's in, resources like the resources come and go very fast, and you don't need that to be difficult or anything like that. I don't like that they didn't change up. Well, I think they did change up the alchemy system, but people still found the recipes. One of the coolest part of Mortal One was the recipes were so rare. Like a lot of people just didn't know the really good recipes, and now that's kind of just spoiled with content creators and stuff like that. Which it is what it is. Like you can't expect that type of stuff to exist in games anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
like
it's just
MO1
kind of
was never
in the
really like
past.
streamed heavily. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
yeah, and it was just it was a far more difficult game than Mortal Two. Um, it's just it was a little bit slower. The map was smaller, but there was because it was smaller. There was even when there was less people, you were much more likely to run into people. So everything you're doing, you're kind of contesting.
yeah. Were you happy with the map size increase, or
Um, Still, I mean, I'm happy that they increased the size because I think the map was really small. You could go from Tindrome to GK in 20 minutes, like in Mortal One.
Jesus?
Like I didn't like that. But they're it's a little big, you know. It's a little big. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like that they wanted to make the world bigger. I'm totally cool with that. But there's some areas of the map that I just can't see people ever caring to settle there and kind of use. There's some areas that are just completely barren of any resources, and it just looks like a part of the map they haven't got to yet.
Dude, that
Right?
walk outside my castle, go west,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Like
literally,
those plains are
like
so boring.
it's yeah. I'm like that's the first thing I thought of, and I'm like, why did I pick that? So at this point, I'm
um,
just like,
but
oh my
again, so
god,
I don't want to be too mad about it because let's see what happens when TC comes out. Because one of the biggest things that change with TC is when you have territory, when you're fighting your enemies, you're no longer you're still fighting in your territory or in an enemy territory, but there's now reason to fight on the edges of your territory. So there's like things to fight over. So let's see what types of buildings and stuff like that we're getting with TC. Maybe it'll be a little bit different. I don't mind that the map is bigger. I prefer that it be bigger than too small. It's just I feel like it's a little big.
well, I
But
think they made it bigger, anticipating a larger, pool of players, and unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way. Um, So now you're just left with roughly the same amount of population you had in MO1 at a given moment, but a bigger map size, and it just feels like kind of like
Yeah,
out of balance a bit.
I mean, we're still kind of like it's still kind of hard to really form an opinion on any of those things because I'm still expecting. At some point, I'm expecting them to be able to have more players on the map, and if they do, I still don't think you're ever going to see like a time period where it's normal to see over 4,000 people playing this game. It's just it's not that kind of game that's going to have that many people, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean the map's a little big, but I don't really hate it. I just know it affects other people. A lot of people don't like that, especially the players that are really trying to stay like a full foot fighter guild. You know, it's a lot rougher for those guilds that kind of are forced to deal with the mountains and stuff like that.
I don't know. You know, like to this day, if just like the launch had gone smoothly and we had sieging in, and there wasn't that, like, that whole like week where people felt like their whole guild was like couldn't log in, and they lost all this like advantage where people grabbed all the castles in 1 week, and then they probably quit the game because there was no way to contest them. I can't imagine how many guilds, like entire guilds, probably like just lost interest in the game completely because there was no way to contest. There still isn't. Maybe they poke their
Sure.
head in the Discord to see like, oh, siege again? No, okay, it's only 8 months later, no big deal. Like,
Yeah,
you know
I
what I
mean, I
mean?
think
But
I like I still think like I'm not totally bummed about the launch being trash. I'm really not. Um, I think everyone had a good idea that the launch was going to go bad in some way or another. You know, there's never been a launch in any game that's been great. So this one being rushed a little early, not having sieging, yeah, there's a lot to be upset about. But the cool thing about this game is like every 3 months, the political atmosphere completely changes, and it's not the end of the world if you don't have a castle. Like I'm like not getting the GK castle was not a big deal because I know like if you don't have like first of all you can't do anything with the castles anyway, right?
mhm.
It's pretty clear they just kind of wanted the castle in there for warm fuzzies. Okay, some guilds got their castles. For those people who left, thinking they're not going to be able to take part in the end game, I totally get that. But a lot of those people are going to come back. Like, there's just no game on the horizon that's anything like this, right? Where there's going to be full loot, territory control in an open world, a persistent world. It's just there's no competition out there. So all those people that joined for those things when TC comes out, I have no doubt that there's going to be a queue again and that population will go back up. It's just going to be, it's all going to come down to whether the TC is enough of an end game to facilitate those numbers to keep coming back. And that was the cool thing about Mortal One. Mortal One, like it never got, I mean, outside of Steam, it was rare for there to be a huge influx of new players. It was just the old players. They after a war they would lose, they would stop playing for a couple months, then they would come back, join another side of the war, and just get right back into it. And it doesn't need a huge population. It probably needs a little bit bigger of a population because the map is that much bigger now. But for the
Right.
game to work with that a TCN game, you didn't really need all that much. Certainly helps to have more, but you know, we'll see. I mean, really, you can only speculate how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think it was just more that people felt like there was like unfair advantage. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, we'll never be able to have a castle, but it's just like they felt
Yeah.
like they were on the back foot.
Well,
Like,
there
you
was.
know,
I mean, there's an advantage in knowing just everything from Mortal One. So the people who played Mortal One had a huge advantage. Huge advantage. The people who played beta had a huge advantage over people who just played on release. I mean, there's just no way around it in a game like this. Like, if you don't have time in the game, you're way behind. You're way behind. Not just in figuring out how to do this and that. It's like PvP, like you just need to fail. You need to die a fucking ton of times to learn the how positioning works and how you have to play certain builds, and it's not an easy game. There's a lot of really good players out there that'll just trash really, really new players that don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's I could totally see people. It was totally warranted too. People quitting because they didn't have a chance. But it's not the end of the world. People can play when TC comes out. I think it'll be fine. I think a lot of the players will come back, and
Well, I'm excited for TC too as well. Obviously, I bring it up all the time. And when I mention TC, I'm just including sieging in that as well. But I I think at the same time, sieging is literally going to also like be the death of the game. Not only for just the mass amount of wealth and resources that people will lose, and then just it'll burn them out, just like contemplating how much time they just lost via pixels. But also, we know that we're also getting subs either on the patch of sieging or very close to it, whatever. Um, one character, that's gonna like ruin a lot of people's
yeah,
like interest in the game as well.
yeah, it's another thing. I don't see them sticking to the one character per account. I don't see them. It's crazy to me that they've hung in this long with it. I at the beginning, I thought, hey, it's a good idea. Um, I like what they're going. Like they want you to feel more invested in your character and all that shit. But there was never a second where I thought like nobody would have multiple accounts. Um,
Yeah.
and now it just with the way the builds are now, even more than Mortal One. Like in Mortal One, Avila Avila and a Thursar curate or whatever the meta build at the time was, like unless you were like in the top 1% of players, you could always outplay. You were always in the fight against another race or another build. It was all about stamina management, and in this, the races are clearly like the clades. They clearly want you to do a certain thing with the races, right? Ogmirs are very tanky. They're melee fighters. They have sustain with their pipes. Thursars are doing a lot of damage, still pretty tanky, but they do damage a little bit better than everybody else. Vilas run away and can do whatever the fuck they want, and nobody can do anything about that. And in Mortal One, that was not the case. Like Avila had a short term advantage running away from a Thursar, but eventually you run out of stamina and the Thursar can catch up to you and then kill you. And you could cut very long periods in Mortal One.
Mhm.
Mortal Two, it's like like a Thursar and a Vila in there. Thursar's going to win the fight. The Vila's just going to run away, heal up, and come back. And like they'll always have that advantage to reset and run away and do all that shit. And that to me I think that's lame. I mean, by the way, I didn't say this earlier when you brought up me liking them not changing certain systems in Mortal One to going from Mortal One to Mortal Two. I think Mortal One minus the engine, Mortal One is a superior game across the board. Mortal Two looks better, and everything down to the core parts of the like features of the game in Mortal Two are just not complete. They're not fun. They're not as good as Mortal One. The mobility, like the very base part of the game, the mobility of the game is terrible compared to Mortal One. Mortal One, the speed difference between people was so small. It came down to stamina, like your stamina pool and your stamina regen more than it did speed. And that was just a better game to play in, like a better world to play in. Like just that alone causes so many issues. And now it's like you have a character that's an Augmere, you're going to be good for certain things, but you're going to be completely useless for others. And Vilas especially, like Vilas are very good at running away, but like when it comes to like sieging and having to fight into like dungeons and shit like that. Well, dungeons is a little different because you can pull mobs and shit like that. But you know, I don't see one character per slot being good for the game anymore. Like whereas when they first brought it up, I could see it being a cool aspect of the game, but it doesn't accomplish any of the goals. It just kind of causes like you have to it makes everyone have to have multiple accounts for multiple things. It's really all it does.
Yeah, I think it's like a
It's
good
yeah.
concept theory, but at the end of the day, it's a video game, and you want to be able to play different things because like there's it's very rare you'll have this person like free horses for example, like he only plays fat mage, he won't play anything else, but that's a very very rare case scenario of it's like a gamer type personality. Most people want to at least try different shit, and they're not going to want to have to delete their whole fucking character and start from zero just to try something, just for them to
Yeah,
realize they don't even like it. You know
that's
what I
that's
mean?
like the worst part of it too. Like think of the people who are just doing this one account, one character per account thing, where they only have one character, one account, and like say it's a human. So say they made a human. They have 7 or 8 months worth of loot that they now have to give to somebody else to hold so they can remake their character. And the clades are nothing. You can get the clades in a couple days. That's not a problem. And remaking your character, skilling it up takes 2 or 3 days at most if you know what you're doing. Like not a big deal. Some of the books and the lore books will take a while, especially if you have like the Draco book and things like that for crafting. It could be a little time consuming, but you have to redo all that shit. And like a lot of people made like humans, and humans are good for two things right now. They're good for like hybrid mounteds. I guess three things. You can make a decent fat mage, but hybrid mounteds and like paladins, right? And you can't have a guild full of paladins like that's going to be doing very well. Like they're just not fast at all. They do less damage than everybody else. Their health is lower than everybody else. They have mana, and that's it. Right on a fighter, that's it.
I don't know if we could
Like
clone pat
so,
wins 10 pat wins in a fight, that'd be deadly, man.
I mean, yeah, there's exactly one Pat wins. There's not many good. There's not many. I would say, like, when Necromancy came out, they definitely got a little boost because you have those like Necro
Oh yeah.
paladins that are pretty nasty, being able to do owl surges and backlines and stuff like that, and having pets, and you can do a Psy Warrior with a human, sure, but they are inferior in like so many different aspects of the game, and like if you made a character that you just don't want to suck at everything except for playing a hybrid mounted, then you have to delete your character and start over completely, right?
Yeah, no,
And
it's
if having two characters per account just fixed that issue alone, it would be totally worth it. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still like because the map's big. If you're trying to defend any sort of territory, you can't have a foot fighter only, or a dex mage or a foot mage or something like that. You need a mounted. So if I like to fight in big fights, the 20 plus, the 20 pluses. That's obviously a foot fighter thing or a dex mage thing, foot mage thing. Um, so I need a foot mage. And then if I'm fighting around the GK area, just trying to kill the scroachers and the rats and the people trying to get Tefra, like I need a mounted. So like just doing what I want to do and like fighting around the Tefra crater, I need two characters. But then, what if you want to do like dungeon fights a lot? Well, Velas and lean whatevers are good in dungeons, so you need one of them. If you want to fight in the jungle, there's different builds that are really good for the jungle. Like, there's just so many things that like one character can't do everything, and it's just like all the races are just rock paper scissors in most cases. I don't like it. I don't know.
yeah, I
I
mean,
just think
like
Mortal One, the system, even though you had less builds to choose from, less races to choose from, it was still a superior gameplay because like you could always, no matter what you were playing, you weren't completely outmatched. Like you could kite better, or you could do something better, but it wasn't like a given. Like you had to actually do it. You had to actually like play it well. And in Mortal One, it's just you could be so fucking trash at the game and you're just so much faster than people on Avila, you just run away. I don't like it. And it's like, the speed difference is too much. The clades are way too much. Yeah, I don't want to keep going off on a tangent complaining about the game. But yeah,
Well, like
there's
Immortal, you Immortal One, I think I don't know exactly how many skill points you had. Was it was 1100 maybe? I think.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like Immortal 2, I think they one of their justifications when back in beta or alpha or something is they were saying, well, now you have profession points and action points, but even then, you have only two characters worth of points at your disposal. You had quadruple that in MO1. As far as just like pure skill points were concerned, whether you did a crafter or a fighter was up to you. Um, so like, even looking at that, like if especially for someone who just didn't give a fuck about crafting or anything and would have just put all their points into action points, now you're, down to literally one character from four versus like quote two because you have two separate skill pools or whatever. So it's just like a big, big drastic change.
I don't see him
Um,
sticking with it. I think eventually they're going to have to change it. And I mean, who knows? They're sticking to their guns on it. I just don't think it really accomplishes anything. Um, and yeah, when people have to start paying for accounts, yeah, a lot of people are going to be super bummed that they have to choose
yeah.
of the accounts that they have. So yeah, we'll see.
I think it'll cause like more burnout than anything, rather than just giving them the character. And now, like even if like they do open up the second character slot, like you're basically gonna have to like start that character over. And if like you bought like you were like one of those kids who put like 10, 20,000 gold into like a ritual book, you know what I mean? Back when it was worth a lot. It's like, okay, now do I just like not play this character because now I have to make a new character on my same Steam account? Like it's like almost like too little too late for people who already invested a lot of time into their characters on their other Steam accounts or whatever. So it's kind of rough. Like I think they should have just never went that route. But um, who do you guys have a like rival guild, or like what guild do you like? Probably like not like hate exactly, but like you like to see them die a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't. I like to. It depends. I like fighting certain guilds. I like fighting Nightmare. Nightmare is one of like it's definitely one of the better guilds in the game for sure. They're very solid. They're very organized. Um, I wouldn't call it a rivalry. I like got a lot of respect for them. But I like fighting them the most. Like they're yeah, I would say top notch guild, one of the better guilds. I like fighting Levy and content every once in a while. Uh, I like I like fighting ES. We don't really get any really good fights against them anymore. It's like they'll either zerg us doing farming something, or we'll just mob them. Not many good fights, but I like fighting ES just because they're the only other guild that have stuck around in the GK area. Um, Yeah, I mean, there's so many guilds that came up to the GK area in the last couple months that we got to fight. Um, I don't really have one that like stands out. I like fighting Dread. Uh, I like I like fighting Dread every once in a while. And Pyre. They kind of go through these phases where they have a lot of people and then they kind of go inactive for a couple of days. But they're fun fighting them when they're active. Um, Geez, who else? Yeah, I would say yeah, above all, I think I like fighting Nightmare the most. Just because
Okay.
they're not going to be a flop, and if you do, like the best thing about them is if you beat them, they come back like they're already on their way back, and that's kind of what I push for in our guild. Like no matter what, if we're fighting, just keep coming, keep logging on, keep getting people to the fight, and if you die, get geared up and come right back. I love that, and a lot of the times if you beat them, they come right back, and because we live close to each other and they live right at a horse spawn, they get back to the fight and they win a lot of fights like that. I don't know. I always thought that was fun.
Yeah, they're very skilled, and you know they unlike a lot of guilds, they'll definitely come like very geared to fights. So like you have to bring your A game with
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah, for
So
sure. That's another. Yeah, it's definitely another thing. They're never. I don't. I mean, when we're fighting them in group fights, they're never in trash gear.
Mhm. Um, do if you could change something about the game, what would it be? It's probably gonna be like your stamina.
Yeah, yeah. I would like. I would change so much about the game. Like, it's almost not even worth asking me that. But I would say the most important thing that they have to change in the game is like they have to get back to the get rid of the volatility in the speed, like the speed clades, where like the runner's high or whatever it's called. The two burst speeds that the Vilas have are so bad for the game. It's unfucking believable. And the stamina regen buffs, like I think if they get rid of if they go get a closer system to Mortal One in terms of mobility, it'd be a lot better game. Just a far better game and experience when it comes to foot fights. Um, yeah, I would say that's the biggest one. But they got a lot of work to do. Obviously, they just have TC in the game would be nice, or um, finishing like I think it would go a long way if they just were to fully implement the mounted combat, including earthquake dismounts and dismounts from hitting horses and all that stuff. So like balance, so mounteds will have to take up balance, and I think that'll do a lot for all the hybrid bloated builds that we're seeing on mounteds. Um, that would do a lot. I don't know. Any one of those three would be really big for the game.
Besides the black opal, did they is Earthquake any different? And then the
It doesn't
dismount, of
dismount.
course.
Yeah. I think it was a perfect circle around the caster in Mortal One, and now it's like an oval, more of
Okay.
like an egg shape
Is
in
it the same
Mortal Two.
range? Do you know?
Generally, honestly I haven't casted it since beta, since they like I tested it with the black opal and it wasn't dismounting, and it was just kind of um, it's just I don't know. It's not a very useful spell.
Yeah. It's
If
mostly
you're if
for
you're a
killing
dex
people in
mage and you're
houses
casting
now. So
earthquake, what's that?
I'd say it's mostly just used for killing people in houses now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're a dex mage and you're casting earthquake, you're in terrible position, and you're probably not a very good mage.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't
So
like touched it really, like increased the range or you know what I mean? Like it needs something.
to
I
me,
don't even know why they
it
had the
felt
black
like
opal.
they just wanted to shelf it because they didn't want to deal with it for now. So they made like a really obscure regent cost, so nobody does anything with it, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, it
Nobody
was
even
like
bothers with it.
nobody was using it before they added the black opal, and then nobody was really using it after.
Yeah,
Like it's bad.
and it was like it's a very strong spell, but I guess you really don't need it if mountains are in a very weird spot. Like in some instances, they are so overpowered, they do so much damage, and in other instances, they're extremely weak. And the gameplay against mounted is not fun as a foot fighter, and the gameplay as a mounted against foot fighters isn't fun either. So they gotta clean that up, because mounted versus mounted is actually really fun. I really like the mounted fights. I think they need to tone down the damage with lances. All lances are fucking berserk. Um, I mean, tongue lances are berserk. Lances, they don't even have the vector math in, so you can ride up next to somebody going the same direction and just couch your lance and hit their mount and do like insane damage, which is stupid because it's only taking your speed calculation in, not like which direction you're facing. Where obviously, if you're running directly into someone who's running directly into you, you should do more damage than if you're both riding the same direction, right?
Yeah, like you're
So
basically just
that
tapping them at that point.
yeah, yeah, and you can like exploit it super bad where you can double couch it, just riding up next to somebody, and you just do like 100 damage a hit with an aug lance.
Yeah,
It's
you're coming
yeah,
up
I
behind
mean
someone, just like tap them almost, like turn
yeah, it's
right
very
back
like
into them.
it's there's some times where the mounted fights are a lot of fun, and there's other times where it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot they didn't fully implement that, so it's ass.
Yeah, it's very RNG too with the lances too. I've noticed at least from people that were testing it. Um, what feature are you guys most looking forward to besides like CC and sieging?
I'm looking forward to elementalism for sure. I know a lot of people in the guild are looking forward to elementalism. Um, yeah, I mean, hands down, everyone would say TC. But I mean, I
Yeah.
guess other than that,
Like,
I
and what
guess
about like a continent, or I mean, you know, a
yeah,
different
I mean,
skill? I don't know.
we are very, very North American heavy, right? We have people in pretty much every time zone, but we have a ton of people in NA East and West. So it'd be nice, like, dude, if they actually did the Sarduka with the like the NA based Sarduka, I would think that's one of the coolest things they could ever do. And I know a lot of people would like to even just to have the option to go to a lower ping server just to get good duels in and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Until you have to take off all your steel armor because the heat system doesn't like you.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, if there was a jungle area where you could wear heavy armor, but yeah, yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense to me either, because like the jungle would also be extremely hot. Because jungles are very, very humid places. You would not
Yeah,
probably
we'll
be
see
wearing steel
how
armor.
much heat affects. Like they've clearly been watering down all of the systems from Mortal One, so I don't
Yeah.
think that system's going to be any different. I think you'll see people with heavier armor, and also you couldn't even do the like in Mortal One the way you got around the heavy armor, not being able to wear full heavy armor, was you would wear like light armor fillers. Like
Mhm.
the gloves and the shoulders and the feet would all be like really ultra light armor, and you would still wear heavy chest, legs, and helmet. But you can't even really do that in Mortal 2 because you only have 5 pieces of armor, not 10.
Thank God, by the way. I'm sorry. I only want one piece of armor, to be honest with you, but like I get the reason they have multiple slots. It's allows for more customization, art role playing or whatever the fuck too as well. But I hate the fact that there's nothing like when you go to like bank armor sets that you can't like group it all into one slot. It's literally 5 slots. So you're like filling whole bags. I don't know. I hate that about the armor system. They needed like a kit, like an armor kit slot, so you could put like this piece, like all 5 of these pieces into one slot, and then you can
I like it. I
store it
like
that
being
way.
able to
But
loot. I like as a mage, you can't carry anything anyway. I like just looting everybody's right arm or left arm. So like they don't have a
what?
full set. Like they'll have to wear their like full
Jesus.
set of one material and then just like pick up like an arthropod left arm or some shit. I thought that was funny.
Okay, I've never heard that one before.
Oh yeah,
Anthony's out here not stealing pants; he's stealing
it's
your
the
right
only
and
way
left
mages
arm.
can grieve people. You can't even carry a full set of armor
God,
in your inventory,
I agree.
especially if you want to
Psychopath
swim or
move.
some shit.
Um. Well, I mean, I think I've gone through all my questions pretty much. Does anyone have any more questions for Antheus from Karnimata? Any like legitimate questions? Oh, we got Run Carney. He's just saying, how come you guys keep saying you don't need Tephra, but they keep saying your members mining Tephra?
I mean, we have a large guild, and sometimes they need Tephra, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes, like today, we had like 3 guys farm Tephra all day, and Run Carney's shitty ass guild kept running in with naked horse, naked player, and just getting shit on. And
Oh, I was
you
gonna
get.
ask you. Um, do you think they will end up making Sarduka bigger, or do you think they'll try and keep it around the same size
I
no
don't
matter what?
know. So Sarduka is everyone. A lot of people really hated it, but the people who lived there, a lot of people really liked it. And the way I see Sarduka is it's a desert. You're not supposed to see people like you see on Maryland, right? So if I don't think it needs to be bigger than I certainly don't think it needs to be as big as Maryland. Um, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't have to be very big because a lot of people. It depends. I guess it depends on how many people really want to play there, and if ping really matters for North Americans. A lot of people are going to go there just to get the good ping. It was also like the best farming in the game. So, in Mortal One. So
What, gold
uh,
wise or?
yeah,
Oh.
largely because it was like uncontested farming because there basically everything over there was like bugs, right? And you could farm the bug parts and sell them to vendors, and you just got really good gold. You could I forget what the carcass didn't drop anything really good, but it was just like the bug parts. But the bugs themselves could be dominated, and they were really good domination pets. Um, they had good dungeons there. It was a pretty cool continent. A lot of people hate on it. I thought it was fun, but it was clearly like an MA's heaven, like a mounted MA heaven, because it was all MA farming spots and just clearly, if in Mortal One, if you were a fat mage and you ran into an MA, you were dead unless like the MA like crashed or lost connection or something like that. Like you couldn't have a shield
Well,
on your back, you couldn't heal your mount while you were
yeah.
running.
I was gonna
Now
say
it's a
you
little
couldn't
bit,
have a shield, and you also couldn't heal your mount while mounted, so it's a bit
yeah,
different
oh
now.
yeah.
Um, was MO1 Sarduka the same size as MO1 Mirland? Do you remember, or?
I don't think it was. Uh, it was probably close. It was really big. It was probably a little too big in Mortal One. But then again, like I said, it was a desert. You're not supposed to like go in there and see people all over the place. And it was actually kind of cool. You could go over there and farm, and you would run into one or two people a day. You would get really good 1v1s in terms of MMA fights, and then you know the I don't know. It's just a different play style. Like I wouldn't put Sarduka in exactly like it was Immortal One. I would definitely make it inhabitable for foot fighters, and things like that. However, they did that, maybe make the jungle a little bit more inhabitable or habitable, or make just the towns more accessible by players. The heat was totally a problem because most foot fighters had to just ghost into Sarduka because you walk across the desert and you start moving 2 miles per hour, like 3 minutes into a 50-minute walk because you start slowing down when you start getting hot. So it would just take forever to walk there. But now you can ride mounts, even if you're just a full foot fighter. So I don't know. I would definitely make it more habitable for foot fighters and make it just more of a continent that people would want to play in as a foot fighter because I think that's just the best part of the game. Still, I think the foot fights are what makes the game a ton of fun.
Yeah, I could see like maybe like a snow biome being a more foot fighter friendly, type area because maybe like the snow is bad for horses or something, you know what I mean? So like foot fighters are more dominant there, and then like the desert would be more about like mounted builds and stuff. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's not as big as it was in Mortal One, where you can really just ride for like an hour and a half and not see anybody or any houses or any towns. But that was also the part of why I liked it. Like I liked going out there and just kind of getting lost. It was I don't know. I thought that was fun. So
I keep
I think
hearing
if they
you
just realize
cleaning
that,
your desk.
sorry,
No, you're good. It's just funny because I could picture what you're doing when I hear it. You're just like wiping it off, right? It's just like a habit. I get it. It's probably not even dirty.
it's not. I just like wiping my. I have one of those really large uh, mouse pads
Oh
that
yeah.
like my keyboard rests on as well. It covers like my whole desk.
Does anyone have any more questions for Antheus? Any questions about Karnimata? You guys want answered? I'm all out of questions, brother. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that I didn't bring up? Or
No, we actually talked a lot about a lot of the issues that I hope they fix. Hope they kind of really look at like the mobility and the stamina and the speeds. I mean, yeah, like I said, I would change so many things about the game. The clades, every clade would just be gone from the game. Every clade. They, I hate that clade system, but
um
yeah, I think I talked about most of the things I like to get out there.
I did see this question come up earlier, and it's kind of a vague question, but who's the best PvPer, I guess, in Karnimata? And I know that's again a broad question. Like, who would you say is like one of your like some of your best group fighters? If you want to name off a few of
Um,
them.
I mean, uh, I would say our best group fighter is John Paul K or Valine or Wingo is one of our better fighters. Chev isn't playing right now, but he's one of our better players. Ryan B is one of our better players in group fights. Um, got a like group fight wise, they're definitely the better ones. In terms of dueling, I think Chev. It's either Chev or Valine. Oh, Cowie. Cowie. Yeah, Cowie, I think, is our best duelist. He doesn't really play with much.
Gotcha.
So
Hardy,
Cowie, Chev, Valine's pretty good.
Lax.
Oh, Cardi. Yeah, Cardi, Lax. I forgot about Cardi. If you want duels, ask Cardi for sure.
Um, Someone asked when the Bear Guild exploded, how many members did they take in? Well, he said suck, but whatever.
I think so. Paxton started playing with us before Bear broke up, and then I think we just took Pekka, Farah, and
Well,
Keldon. So five total, I think.
well, Farron and Sloppy came from Kodo, but they were originally from Bear. I think they
Right.
would probably count as Bear because they weren't in
Okay.
Kodo that long.
So maybe seven. Seven.
7? Okay. Would you take people from Dreadlords to this day if they wanted to join and you thought they were decent?
I have nothing but love for Dreadlords, but I wouldn't take most Dreadlords just because. Um, I mean, I know a lot of the people in that guild, and if they fit the atmosphere in here, sure, yeah. But a lot of the guys in there, like they didn't ask to come in here for a reason, and they didn't, a lot of the guys in there don't like me. So if I knew about them, like if I knew them personally and they fit the, kind of how our guild plays, and yeah, I'd bring them in. Like. There's no bad. I don't see any bad blood between Dreadlords and us, from like the whole us being kicked out and starting our own guild. I have no bad blood. I got nothing but love for Killox. He's one of my oldest friends. He's funny as fuck. It sucks fighting against him. I hate fighting against him. I hate fighting against some of the older guys from Dreadlords, but you know, it is what it is. Kind of, we went our own way, and I got nothing but love for those guys. So I don't hate them or nothing. I wouldn't say no just because they were in Dreadlords.
You ever see you playing with Killox again? Or is that like done?
I mean, I would, yeah, I'd play with them absolutely. I honestly like running the guild, so it's not going to be a thing where we're like sharing a guild. That's not an option. And anyone who knows Killox knows that Killox is always in charge. He's he likes running his shit. He doesn't like going to anybody and asking for permission. So like if a game came out and I saw Killox in there and I wasn't playing with anybody else, I would play with Killox in a heartbeat.
Gotcha.
He's funny as hell. He's so much fun to play with.
All right. I think that's pretty much it, brother. I don't see any questions. Just like not like legitimate questions anyways. But yeah.
I
I
just see
appreciate
Run Carney just saying stupid shit
there's
nonstop.
it's not like it's not like a just you thing. There's always that one guy with whatever guild I bring in just asking like that super fucking agenda dumb fuck question. It's just like I'm not gonna ask it because it's obviously just like so fucking fixated in one direction in some way. You know what I mean? So it's just like, or it's not even true. Like I asking a question I just know is just like not true. So it's just like, what's the fucking point? But If I end up asking those questions, usually because I'm fucking trolling, or I just like want to see like like a funny answer or something. But
Yeah, that's one thing about this community. It's like there's certain people that are just pushing for drama and pushing for trolling and just
like I know fucking Ren Cardi's is like he's
yeah,
got
I
the
know.
biggest smile on his
I
face when
see
he's
that.
asking when he's typing the question. I know he's smiling. I know
Karnimata
exactly
can't
what it
mine
looks like.
Tephra confirmed. Like my
Yeah.
guild literally just farmed it all day today without like any issue.
It has nothing to do with him being my ally. It's just like, what's his like question? His questions like, Dreadlord new guild joining Karnimata Zerg. Like, why Karnimata village located right next to Tefra, but they are too scared to come fight for it. When I know they fight for it like almost every day. It's like, why would I ask that question? It's like,
Yeah. If Ron Carney doesn't shut up, I'm gonna send Zergatron and Amber Turd over there to talk to him.
oh no, dude, Baby Davy. Yeah, dude.
Baby Davy, yeah.
I heard Baby Davy started the war. Like he re-upped it. But
Yeah, he
we'll
did.
go we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you coming on and let me do your interview.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
yeah, I'll send you the link once I get it on YouTube, and I'll post it on the forums and stuff so you guys can go back and watch it. Anyone who maybe missed the beginning questions or whatever, you can go back and watch the early questions. Um, just to learn more about Karnimata. But thank you. I appreciate you coming on, Antheus. Appreciate it.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it too.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye later.
GG's, boys. I am actually glad I get to do these things with the interviews. I'm glad people actually want to come on and let me ask them questions, even if they're more or less the same questions. I hope that there's people out there who genuinely didn't know the answer to some of the questions that we ask, and hopefully they learned things. So that's the goal at the end of the day. It's not really to like these are not to like you know, cause drama or anything. If drama happens, that's a side benefit, I guess, because it's more entertaining. But really, at the end of the day, we're just trying to get information out there. So if you guys have any guilds or if there's any guilds in here who I have not done an interview for and you want to do an interview, definitely message me. I'm totally not biased to any guilds doing interviews with them. Um, but, if you guys want to come on, just let me know. Um, Tomorrow we're having my next podcast with Glitchiness from Nightfall and Zachariah or Zach Zero from Brigands. Okay, so if you guys want to see the podcast, come tomorrow. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. So basically, what that's like. How many hours is that? That's 5 hours plus. So it's about like 18 and a half hours, 19 hours from now. 2 p.m. Eastern, boys. All right. Can you please interview the China gold farmers? I mean, yeah, if you give me a Discord, I'll tag. If they're a legitimate guild, I'll interview them. Interview Tefra PD if you want the non-biased view of the Karnimata dogs. Sure, we could do. I could do a Tefra PD interview. That's fine. If you guys want to do it, we can go for it. I'm down. Just guys can't if you just can't say anything that's gonna get me in trouble on Twitch. If you say anything that's gonna get me in trouble on Twitch, I'm gonna have to take it down. But I've had Run Carniar before. I'm pretty sure he's good with it. And he is a Twitch streamer, so I don't think he's could do that. But anyways, appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the questions as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Appreciate it. See you guys tomorrow.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have me doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me.